I wasn't gonna make this video, but the comment section for the Why I Left Buzzfeed video turned into a cesspool of some of the worst people spouting just hateful and ignorant things, so I'm gonna fucking rant for a bit.
Yeah, at this point, viewer, it'll probably be a good idea for you to take a second back and actually read some of the comments that he posted. So that way it gives what I'm about to say a little bit of context. My friend, I'm not saying this to insult you or anything like that, but you're a wee bit sensitive, I have to say. Now, those comments are pretty far removed from being hateful. I mean, yeah, sure, they were mean, but they weren't untoward, and they were actually kind of spot on a little bit. I do find it interesting, though, that all these people miscalculated, believing you left BuzzFeed because you saw the light, when really you left BuzzFeed because you want to do your own thing. Yeah, but it is what it is. I'm just saying, I mean, those comments aren't hateful. They're just a little mean. And you can deal with it. I mean, they're not so mean as to where you can't handle it.
And because it's important to cite your sources, I included links in the description box to all the stuff that I'm talking about. People hurled a lot of hate at BuzzFeed in the comments. They called it feminist and racist. I didn't really feel the need to defend BuzzFeed, but I started to take these comments personally, and the louder these people got, the louder I realized I need to be. So first up, let's talk about people accusing BuzzFeed of being feminist. Now, I wouldn't disagree with that.
Yeah, I mean, that's like someone saying, water is wet. And then you're like, yeah, exactly. Of course you wouldn't.
For the sake of the video, I'm going to use this pretty simple definition of feminism.
Feminist, a person who believes in the social, political, and economic equality of the sexes.
You might be asking yourself, wait a second, Kenny, I don't understand. A lot of my friends are women. Of course I want them to be treated the same way that I'm treated. It does seem a little bit confusing, right? That doesn't seem like too offensive of a concept, so what's the problem? One is that people don't believe that women are treated differently. And
Kenny, there's not a person in this plane of reality that doesn't believe women are treated differently. They just don't think women are treated differently in an unfavorable way. Because half the time, they're not. Truth be told, Kenny, most people like women. Most people bend over backwards for women. Yeah, women are treated differently, but oftentimes in a very preferential way. Most people don't discriminate against women solely for being women. Hell, most of the time a woman is discriminated against, it's because she's an asshole, not because she's a woman. If people discriminate fairly, in her favor, it's because she's a woman, not because she's a nice person. Yeah, women are treated differently. No one is saying that they're not.
And I guess the other is that people are accusing BuzzFeed of hating men.
Yeah, I mean, here's the thing. There's no real way around it. If you're a feminist, you have to have some kind of disdain for men. I don't really believe that you can be a feminist believing that men have oppressed you throughout all of human history and not dislike men. That would be interesting. I would like to see how you rationalize that. Men have been the mortal enemy of women forever, but nah, I actually kind of like them a little bit. Yeah.
And I got a lot of that in the comments. First of all, I don't know how we can keep arguing about whether women are treated differently.
Well, no one is, Kenny. They're arguing about whether or not women are treated better than men. Well, they are, because people like women.
Women are paid less.
I can't take this anymore. I just wanted to stop. Why won't it stop? Why? Why won't it stop? I mean, here's the thing, man. Honestly, I really don't even understand why women even complain about being paid less. Considering the fact that they could just get in a relationship and have their husband or boyfriend pay for most of their stuff. I mean, a woman can effectively double her income by just being a woman and being in a relationship. And considering that, well, men like women, most of the time they're going to pay for them. So, what even is the complaint here? I don't even understand it.
Women are underrepresented in a lot of fields.
Honestly, I have a very tough time saying that underrepresentation in any field is a need for feminism or is even caused by discrimination. Unless you can definitively show me that this is because of discrimination, I don't think it matters if women or even men are underrepresented in any occupation. If anything, it just goes to show that men and women just like doing different things. And that should be fine, that should be okay. So what? There aren't very many women CEOs. There aren't very many women garbage collectors either, and I don't see you bitching about that.
When women are raped, they're told they either deserve it because of what they're wearing.
No, 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 no. That should be the only reply. No, no, Katie, that doesn't happen to women. That's not true. People don't say women deserve to be raped based on what the clothing they were wearing. It's not true. It doesn't happen. It's a lie, Billy. It's either a lie. It's either a lie. Either you're purposely trying to make it seem as if that our society hates women, or you don't know what the fuck you're talking about. It's entirely possible that you don't. But no, that doesn't happen. And that's all I'm going to say. I'm tired of people saying that shit.
Or for being too drunk.
Well, no one said any woman deserves to be raped for being too drunk. People are saying that if you want to heighten your chances of avoiding being raped, you're not going to get drunk in a dangerous environment, which you think be reasonable advice, but apparently not. Apparently it's not reasonable to tell individuals, if you want to avoid being in bad situations, don't put yourself purposefully in the bad situations. Which isn't saying that bad things will never happen, but it is saying that you can reduce your chances of bad things happening by, well, trying to avoid it. Again, you think that just be reasonable stuff, but apparently it's not. I don't really understand why that isn't a reasonable thing to say to people.
Or because of their behavior.
These women made a conscious choice, as the judge pointed out in her decision, to wear certain clothes that day, and some of their body parts were in the public domain.
Hey, Kenny, can I have a little bit of context with that? Please? Can I please get some context as to what this woman was talking about? I don't know. I don't know if I agree or disagree because I don't know what the topic was. All I know is that women were wearing revealing clothing. What is that? What was she talking about? Instagram? I don't know.
In a recent radio interview, Dr. Stephen Trattenberg said that women should simply drink less alcohol if they don't want to be raped.
Again, you think that'd just be reasonable, but no, I guess not.
Or they're just not believed at all.
Yeah, go ahead and tell half the story, Kenny. Go ahead and tell half the story. Let's not tell the other half of that story where they're automatically believed and people will dogpile on the man accused of being a rapist. Let's just completely ignore that shit happens. That doesn't happen, never. I don't know what you're talking about.
And are claimed to be lying for attention, I guess, or revenge? Why would a woman lie about being raped knowing that there's going to be people coming for her, giving her death threats?
It is called histrionic personality disorder. And you can also pick borderline as well. Narcissistic personality disorder. I'm just saying. Maybe there is a reason why. Kenny, if you think about what you just asked for more than, 3 seconds, you might come up with a whole myriad of reasons why a woman might lie about being raped. Let's consider the fact that, again, you're only telling half the story. The other half is that people will automatically believe her. In fact, most people don't look at most women's stories of rape with any level of scrutiny. So, yeah. If you want an answer to your question, is to get out of getting in trouble with their husband or parents. Maybe money. That could be an incentive. Maybe revenge. That could be another one. Maybe they just like attention because they're histrionic. I don't know. But there's reasons why. Let's stop pretending like there is never any reason why a woman would lie about that.
Coming forward knowing that you're going to be viciously attacked takes a shit ton of courage, and
not if you're lying, it doesn't. Again, Kenny, stop telling half the story, man. Come on.
you wouldn't do that if you're lying. That literally makes no sense.
It doesn't make any sense if you don't understand histrionic personality disorder.
And there's objectification in the media, women being treated like sex objects.
Yeah, but let's not pretend that there aren't women who sexually objectify themselves. And let's also not pretend that women don't benefit from being sex objects. Which is, the reason why I put it in quotation marks is because women aren't sex objects. Women like having sex. And they try to obtain it. New. Who would have thought? Women also tease men with their sexuality to obtain shit from men without actually having to give them anything. As it turns out, women kind of benefit from being sex objects sometimes. Let's stop pretending that this, again, only half the story, Kenny. Only half the story. Bearing in mind, all of those women chose to be in those pictures, so... yeah.
Also, women are shamed for being sexual beings while men are glorified.
Yeah, perhaps by like their friends, but random strangers don't give a damn about other men's sexcapades. So, who cares? And hardly are men glorified. Bearing in mind, female models make about 70%. I've heard someone say over 1,000% more than male models do, so Apparently they ain't shame that fucking much.
And people will say that you can't complain about being objectified while also wanting to own your own sexuality.
Yeah, that would be really strange. Oh, I'm gonna go ahead and show off all my ass and my breasts, but don't you look at it and don't you only try to have sex with me, even though the only thing I showed you is my sexual appeal. That's not right. Come on, ladies. You gotta have a little bit more common sense than that.
In what world?
In Earth 616. Pah! Marvel comic book fans would get that one. I know. I read too many comic books, man. Way too many.
There's a difference between owning your own sexuality and being objectified by other people without your consent.
How do you even control being sexually objectified without your consent? How's that? Is it even possible? I mean, what are you gonna do? You go into people's minds? I don't even understand how you fight against that, being sexually objectified without your consent. You can't control that. You just gotta learn to deal with it. And considering that women benefit from being sexually objectified in most cases, I think they deal with it pretty fine, actually. In fact, I'm not even 100% sure why there's even a problem. Considering that women can just not have sex with men that only want to have sex with them.
There's so much more that I could say here, but I don't have time, and there's a lot of really talented women on the internet writing about this who are doing a much better job than I am, so you should go look them up. I put some names in the description box. The second argument against BuzzFeed is that they're racist against white people. Y'all, BuzzFeed is white, first and foremost. Most of the people that I worked with were white.
Coon. Uncle Tom. Jigaboo. Uncle Ruckus. And if you're African American female, bedwench. Those are all words that other black people use to describe other black people that they believe are racist against themselves. Those are also words that white people of the social justice warrior persuasion will also throw at black people that they believe are racist against other black people. You picking up what I'm putting on the table, Kenny?
Where it gets sort of complicated is the fact that BuzzFeed doesn't really have editorial oversight. So they don't have someone who's saying, hey, there's been a lot of videos recently shitting on white people. Maybe we should tone it down a bit. So when you do have people of color making videos about topics that are related to them, white people are going to come up a lot because white people have done a lot of shit.
If anything, that's more an accurate reflection of all of those people of color. I really don't like using that term, but that's more of a reflection of those people than it is white people, considering that they're constantly whining and complaining about white people all the damn time. You would think they would get bored. You would think they'd eventually get to a point where they don't want to talk about how horrible and terrible white people are. But I guess not. I guess not. It's strange. It's like they have a masochistic fetish where they constantly remember a bunch of horrible shit that never fucking happened to them all the time. Goodness gracious. And it seems other white people have that too. White people with that white guilt being upset over some shit that they had nothing to do with. My word. Man, I hate that shit, man. Constantly thinking about all the horrible things I never did before. Don't you think that'd just be exhausting?
Slavery? Trail of Tears? Japanese internment camps? How about denying women's rights? Who's targeting Muslim Americans as terrorists? White people.
Well, alright, let's go ahead and take this one from the top. Let's go.
Slavery?
Kenny. Yeah, I am fully prepared to be called Uncle Tom and Coon and all of that, but I am an honest person, and I try to be as honest as I can be. Kenny, white people didn't start slavery. To put slavery on the heads of white people for all eternity, constantly, it's just a horrible, terrible thing to do. I think white people have heard enough about what their ancestors did. What a fraction of their ancestors did, no less. Let's stop there. Only a small percentage of white people even owned slaves, if we're going to be completely honest, and those were the wealthy white people. So, to constantly parade all white people for what some white people did on account of other white people probably never even owned slaves to begin with, I don't know, Kenny, I think you're beating a dead horse constantly. If you really want to talk about slavery, why don't you go over and talk about the Middle East? Or over in Indonesia. Don't you think that might be a good place to start chatting about slaves over on the other side of the planet? Not here in America or in Canada, wherever you live. I'm just saying, Kenny. This whole thing, constantly talking about how terrible white people are because they own slaves, well, Lots of people owned slaves. Lots of, I mean, the Slavics is where the word slave even comes from. And they were of the pale persuasion. I'm just saying, maybe you kind of get over this shit of constantly berating white people for some shit that they weren't the only ones who even participated in, did? No? Well, okay, I tried.
Trail of Tears.
You know, while it's true that the Trail of Tears is certainly indefensible in terms of what happened, is a really, really shitty thing, I mean, you can only all really put that on the head of one white person, and that's Andrew Jackson. I mean, once again, I have Native American blood inside of me, and I don't consciously think about all the horrible things that happen to Native Americans. Seriously, fucking get over it, Kenny. Move on with your life. Stop being upset about what your ancestors did. You can do it. I believe in you.
Japanese internment camps.
Again, that was pretty indefensible. I mean, you're right. That was an absolute shitty thing. But, I mean, the U.S. government at least tried to do something about it by giving them, I think, $20,000. They paid some of the surviving Japanese men some money. And it's interesting to me that only Japanese men were sent to Japanese internment camps. But, you know, America's racist against women. Only men had to suffer from that. I'm just saying.
How about denying women's rights?
No. No, Kenny. The answer is no. White men did not. The white men never denied women their rights. You can get that bullshit all the way the fuck out of my house. See you later. Bye. Goodbye. Go. Get out of here. Go.
Targeting Muslim Americans as terrorists.
ISIS. Wait. Is that the wrong answer? I think it is. No? I mean ISIS, they are the ones targeting Muslims and Americans. So, yeah, ISIS. There you go. Go.
Secondly, you cannot be racist against white people.
What the fuck? I'm done. That's it, man. I'm gonna go fucking, I don't know, play fucking Diablo 3 or some shit.
Here's why. So the Oxford Dictionary defines racism as prejudice, discrimination, or antagonism directed against someone of a different race based on the belief that one's own race is superior. So yes, prejudice and discrimination can be directed at all races, including white people.
Is he still talking? Why is he? Fine, Kenny, fine. What did you say?
But racism is a different thing because of that last part about superior. Racism can be broadly defined to encompass individual and group prejudices and acts of discrimination that result in material and cultural advantages conferred on a majority or dominant social group. Who has been the dominating and subduing force since, like, ever?
So, out of curiosity, if you are in Japan, is it possible to be racist against Japanese people?
Here's some examples. You might have heard about these North Carolina voting laws that have been in the media lately. Well, that kind of sounds familiar. In the 1960s, we tried to stop black people from voting in a variety of ways, but one was by enacting a poll tax that not a lot of people could afford, and second, by subjecting everyone to a literacy test. Well, back then, a lot of black people couldn't read, which is a failure of the education system in the United States as far as I'm concerned. Also, minorities are more likely to be criminalized for drugs, and minorities are more likely to be targeted by the police. So you cannot be racist against white people because white people have been at the top of the racial food chain since forever.
Kenny, telling me that minorities have to deal with discrimination is not a rebuttal as to whether or not you can be racist against white people. By the way, the stupid dumbass stipulation that I have to have cultural or economic power is just that, stupid. It's dumb. It has absolutely nothing to do with your ideology, believing that one race is superior than the other. Considering that race has absolutely fuck all to do with your economic or social status, racism only has to do with how you feel about someone's race. Otherwise, you're referring to classism, which has something to do with people's class and economic status and money. So get out of here with that. Yes, white people can be racist against other white people. And the similar stance that black people can indeed be racist against other black people. Except there aren't very many. At least I haven't seen any. In fact, the only way you can make most black people look racist against black people is when they say something reasonable about what black people should do to make their lives better, and then you're all like, no, yeah. That's only what I've seen. People upset about black people calling out other black people. But I don't see anyone actually believe that, or any other black person actually believe that the race of people is inferior. They don't. Most black people don't. I don't think any, if I'm going to be so bold as to claim that.
Being at the top gives you privilege. White people are privileged. I have so much white privilege.
You know, I've said this a couple of times, but I have to say it again. Saying that you have white privilege, to me, just sounds like a real subtle form of racism. It just sounds like you're saying, hey, I'm better than you. I'm going to acknowledge that I'm better than you. I'm going to use this fact that I'm better than you to help you. Fuck off, Kenny. Seriously, I'm seriously sick of this whole white privilege thing. White people aren't better than me because you're white. You're not. Sorry to burst your bubble. Goodness gracious.
I've never been the only white person anywhere. I feel welcome and comfortable pretty much everywhere I go.
So do I. Do I also have white privilege? Have I attained that white privilege as well? Oh, look at this. I'm not white, so how come I feel that way too, Kenny? Maybe that has absolutely nothing to do with being white at all. I'm just asking. Maybe.
I've never feared for my life in an interaction with a police officer.
Well, that's interesting, considering the fact that there's a huge imbalance of power there. If anything, that would be a reason why you'd fear it. Not because you're a minority. It's the fact that there's a gigantic imbalance of power between you and that police officer. I'm just saying, considering the fact that they can kill you and that would not be considered murder. I can understand exactly why you'd fear your life. And it wouldn't matter if it was black, Mexican, Chinese officer. Yeah, I'd still be all like officer. Fucking shit. I mean, that's just reasonable, honestly.
Also, the media not only represents my race pretty much everywhere all the time, but there is also a very clear bias, and you can see that here in the Olympics. Ryan Lochte lied about being robbed at gunpoint when instead he and his friends broke the door of a gas station and peed everywhere and got into an altercation with a security guard. The spokesman for Rio 2016 said, "Give these kids a break."
Yeah, why would he need to say that, Kenny? Oh, it might have something to do with the fact that there are a bunch of people viciously mocking him on the internet. Oh, would you look at that? As it turns out, not all white people are fucking fans of every other white person. Who would have thought? People have different emotions and stuff on topics.
On the other hand, Gabby Douglas didn't put her hand on her heart for the national anthem, and everyone in this country lost their damn minds.
I didn't. Hell, I wouldn't have known about it until this just appeared here. And I'm sure that had absolutely nothing to do with the fact that she was a small black woman. I think you're just saying that. I really do. I mean, I need more information to understand. Were they all like, look at this fucking niglet here, not putting their hand on her heart? What is that little nigger doing? I didn't see very many people saying that. I didn't see anyone saying that until I actually looked for it. And I find it interesting that it even bothered anyone, honestly.
Public response to Lochte has been lighthearted and humorous, while response to Gabby Douglas has been angry and critical. If you need more examples about white privilege, you can check out the article Unpacking the Invisible Knapsack by Peggy McIntosh. It's a great article. You can find the link in the description. Now, we have a chance to be better. We have a chance to treat people with more fairness and respect and equality.
And it seems that the only way to do that is to constantly bring up shit that happened in the past and make people feel bad about it. Right? Did I catch that correctly?
Acknowledging your own privilege does not mean taking responsibility for the actions of others. It literally only means acknowledging that you were born with an advantage that others do not have.
Kenny, that is taking responsibility for something that you have not done. Kenny, you saying that is like me saying that walking isn't putting one foot in front of the other. It's me moving one foot ahead of the other and then falling on it and then repeating the process over and over again. What did I describe there, Kenny? Falling with grace, that's what I described. Wrap us up.
From there, the hope is that you use your privilege to help others, that you give people who don't have a voice, and that when you see something or hear something or when you do something, you call attention to that, call yourself out, and try to be better. Talking about stuff like this doesn't mean that you hate white people, and it doesn't
mean that you hate men. It just means that you are calling attention to what is actually happening. Not talking about it won't make it go away, okay? And having the attitude of this shit doesn't affect me is wrong, because it does affect you. It affects me. It affects my friends around me. It affects the way that laws are passed in this country, and it affects general happiness and well-being. That's why I want to talk about it. That's why I think it's bullshit seeing this in the comments. And yeah, they're trolls, and yeah, maybe it's bullshit, and they don't mean it, and they're just trying to get a rise out of me, and maybe it worked, but I think this is important.
Well, that's the end of Kenny's video, and subsequently, the end of mine. I guess the last thing that needs to be said here is this. Guys, if we honestly do want to be better, if we honestly do want to right the wrongs of the past, we should stop holding each other to it. You know, in the same way that I don't want any white person to hold me for what other black people around me do, it's the same way that no one should hold over the heads of white people what their ancestors did. And what my ancestors did over in Africa. Because, you know, I mean, war and all of that. I mean, our ancestors did some shitty things. Our ancestors were pretty horrible people. And we shouldn't be constantly holding that over each other's head. If anything, we should remember that it happened and use it as fuel to do something differently. Not constantly berate ourselves and constantly insult each other and constantly, you know, separate people into different groups of which you can discriminate against constantly. I mean, if you guys really want to make the world a better place in terms of dealing with race relations and racism and even sexism, I don't know, maybe you should start treating yourself better first and then project that on the other people. I mean, when you love yourself, I mean, all you can do is love other people. So that being said, man, I certainly hope you guys enjoyed today's video, and if you did, man, go ahead and click that like button. Shoot, go ahead and click that subscribe button. Comment link on box below. And as always, you guys have yourselves a great day, and I'll see you cool cats soon. Adios.